yeah, so Vanquish Origin Limited. It was originally So Vanquish Limited Origin Limited. Fuck. Hello everybody, my name is John. This is my channel, The Origin Factory. Welcome back. It is June 13th, 2024, Thursday. It is almost the weekend. Holy smoke, did the week fly by. Anyways, today we're talking about Vanquish Origin Limited. I was trying to make this kind of like a mystery surprise type thing, but then I can't do a thumbnail or a description that actually describes the video, so here we are. No surprise at this point. But before I get into that, a little channel business. Everybody who's subscribed so far, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. Those of you making your second, third trip back, I think it's time for you to hit that subscribe button. Please do. That's what helps us the most right now is getting subscribers. Also, those of you who have subscribed already, if you can still continue to like, comment, share, all that happy stuff, helps us grow. We're doing great. We're about 2.5 months in now. Channel's doing wonderful. I'm happy with it. We're going to keep plugging along and see how far we can take this. So yeah. So back in 2016, Vanquish released the Origin Limited. It was priced at $899. And it was a premium kit. I mean, there's a lot of aluminum parts here where today those parts are plastic. The body it came with is, they call it the Origin Full Cab. And it resembles an International Scout, a first generation International Scout, which was back in the 60s. They developed axles specifically for this project, which they call the D44s, and they resemble Dana axles. And with this one, they departed from the traditional 4-link design on the front axle, which like Axial was using, and they decided to put a panhard bar in there with 3 links, which is more scale looking. The transmission they used for this was an Axial base 3 gear. The big reason I made this video was as Vanquish grows and gets more customers and more interest in their brand, that there's a surge in interest of these older models that they no longer make. Like this one is on their website labeled as discontinued, which pretty good sign they're never going to make it. I mean, there's a lot of expensive parts in this kit that are labor intensive, not very cost effective to make. I'm not saying they never will. I have no idea. I don't work for them. I have no inside information on it, but it'd be fun to see it come out again with, another VS410 platform with that body, because there's a lot of people asking questions about them now, and the values of these are really going up. At the time of filming this, a new in box, is selling upwards of $3,000 and more for one that's sealed, meaning the foil seal was never cut. Drivable, fully assembled shelf queens are going up around $2,000 for really nice examples. And the used ones is typical of all used stuff. Prices are all over the place on used stuff depending on condition. So, big part of this video is to help inform you guys a little bit to identify what makes an Origin, like when you're looking at a used one, and that it has all the parts. And I don't say have all the parts to be snobbish, like mine's better than yours, but from the standpoint of that, if I'm going to pay top dollar for this, this Vanquish Origin that's no longer produced, if I'm going to pay the top price, I expect it to have every part, because there's some parts that are really hard to find now. They're getting a lot of money just for the individual parts. So, I mean, one that's $1,500 and one that's $1,800, it might be priced fairly because it's missing some of the more expensive parts. Or it might be somebody trying to squeeze more money out of theirs because they saw one sell for a lot more money than theirs, and theirs is missing parts. So it's trying to inform you guys as a buyer, as a collector, that kind of stuff, because now we're getting into collector money. So the more informed you are, the better off you are, and hopefully you don't make a bad decision or a bad choice in purchasing. So, another thing that reflects on the value of these is customized ones. And what enters into the collector market a lot is the customized ones over time become less and less valuable, because then it becomes more and more rare to have one in its original form. So those of you who've got them in stock form, if you hold them on long enough, they'll be probably the most valuable ones out of the bunch. And the custom anodized colored ones, the collectors people are, the reason I emphasize the collectors is because the collectors are the ones that'll pay top dollar for this stuff. The ones who are into the numbers and how limited they are and that kind of stuff, and they want a special one. And my understanding is the black one, the black anodized aluminum, there wasn't as many, but that's only from gossip on the internet. I don't know for sure. Vanquish never released their production numbers, and they generally don't, which is fine. That's just the way it is. So anyway, so we're going to dive in deep on some of the background of all this, of the kit, what's all inside the kit, and what makes an Origin. So, and on the way out of this video, we'll talk a little bit more before we go. So, see you in a bit. So here we are. This is the vintage unboxing of a now retired Vanquish product. It was originally released, I believe, in 2016. The retail price on it then was about $899, which, even today, that's a pretty good price. So back then, it was meant to be a premium product. They said it was a limited type production deal, so I don't know, but they don't really release the production numbers or any of their stuff either, so I have no idea how many of these were made. It does seem to be that this version is more plentiful than the other version, as far as what I've seen available. So opening this up, we have Vanquish VS410 Origin Limited, and this is the clear version. Clear denotes the color of the anodizing on the aluminum parts. The other version was black, which was released later. I've heard there was lower numbers on the black version. I have no way to confirm that. This is just internet gossip. So I really don't know for sure the numbers on all of them. Vanquish doesn't release that stuff and make it available to the public anyways. So getting this out of the box, the shipping box, opening this guy up. So on top here we have the manual. We have the decals for the body. And then we have this nice presentation of most of the metal parts. We have starting on the right, we have the motor plate, which amounts to the transmission. We have axle housings, front and rear. We have what are called the sliders. We have the transmission case halves. We have the steering knuckles, which attach to the front axle. We have diff covers, which go on both axles, one for each axle. We have the rear bumper. We have the front bumper. And we have the frame rails. So the black version is identical to this, with the exception of the parts being black versus clear. Clear anodizing. This may look to you like it could be a raw finish. This is not. This is a colored process for aluminum. So, I mean, when these do get scratched, they will get shiny. You'll see a shiny scratch in there where it's showing the raw aluminum beneath it. So yeah, this is a colored. They call it clear because essentially it's the same. It's very similar to the color of the aluminum. And of course, the black ones, and I think the black ones, at least in internet chatter, is less desirable. And I think that's because when you have this colored in black and it takes a scratch, it leaves a nice shiny line across it. And that's the kind of complaints I hear from the guys, saying they don't like how fast it looks used if you drive it, type thing. The frame rails. This was the first time they made their own frame rails. So this was their first shot at that. So these are what's called the VS410 chassis. And one thing that's different with these versus subsequent VS410s is right here you see a hole. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it instead of my pen. There. So you see that hole right there. There is on the modern, well, on everything after the Origin, meaning Pro, Ultra, Phoenix, Fordyce, all those different models, the frame rails are slightly different. And where they're different is, see how we got one hole there. there is a second hole in here. Yeah. Okay, so I went and found a current frame rail for the VS410 platform. So as you can see right here, we have an additional hole. This would be the more modern VS410 rail, or the current one. And you see on this one, we don't have that hole. And the reason I'm covering some of this stuff is those of you who are, these things have went up in price dramatically. And that was kind of what encouraged me to do this video, was as these things go up in value, I really feel you guys should know what the differences are. So when somebody's asking, you know, $3,000 for a new unboxed kit, or $1,500, $1,800, $2,000 for a driver, me personally, I would want it to be a true Origin and not a parts truck. And and not to knock it. My point behind that is, if somebody's going to charge you top dollar for this, it should have all the correct parts. I mean, these were never serial numbered or anything like that. So, I mean, the only way you could really define a true Origin would be that it has all the correct parts. So, and that's what I'm trying to inform you here today. So that you guys, if you're out there collecting these, buying one, researching to buy one, you should know what parts are accurate to it, because if you ever go to sell it and somebody calls you out on it and says it's not true and you thought yours was correct and so forth, well, here you go. Here's the information. So when they build parts kits for these, I mean, when people build them out of parts trucks, so like in the chassis kit that's currently available from Vanquish, the panhard mount always comes in black. So if you're looking at an Origin that's clear, this is, like I said before, this is the color clear. The panhard mount is in clear. In the parts kit VS410 chassis, it comes in black. So if they use the chassis, and they have the one with the extra holes and so forth, and the black panhard bar, I can guarantee you they made it from a chassis kit. Is that wrong? I don't consider it wrong, but you as a consumer should at least know what you're getting, and what's going to, potentially give you the most value for your investment would be that it be as correct as possible. None of these parts are currently available, or I shouldn't say none of the parts. Most of these parts are not currently available from Vanquish. The transmission is available, and this is derived from an axial 3 gear. The knuckles are available. The axle housings are available. The motor plate's available. The frame rails are available, but they have an extra hole, which makes that really hard to fake, because, we can always add an extra hole to make it look like one with an extra hole, but how do you fill in a hole on something like this without turning into a major project? So, anyways, that's what's currently available from Vanquish. The sliders were available not that long ago. If like about 3-4 months ago, they have since dried up, and it doesn't sound like they're going to make any more of the aluminum parts for the Origin, that are specific to the Origin. Like I said, they still make the knuckles, they still make the axles. You can still get the panhard bar in both colors, black and clear. You can still get the motor mount. So like I said, yeah, it's difficult to find frame rails. You'd have to find them from an original one. The sliders, the bumpers, those are getting very expensive. A good set of bumpers are now starting to sell for upwards of $300 for the pair. Sliders, I haven't seen them go too high yet, because like I said, those have just started to dry up, but I'm guessing they're going to be around $100 a pair or more. And the transmission is still, like I said, still currently available, and they're like $165 from Vanquish with the motor plate and with the guard. The axle housings are, $130-ish a piece with no other pieces. The knuckles are separate, which are like $50. So yeah, I mean, this truck has got a lot of expensive parts in it. So when you see one for, somebody asking $1,500 for one, it's getting hard to build it for less than that. The way you might be able to circumnavigate that if you want to build one is getting bumpers that have damage on them. By damage, I mean scratches, not big damage, and same with the sliders. Because you can sand these, dress them out, get rid of the scratches, and have them re-anodized. I recommend you do it all with one batch if you're doing all the parts, so they for sure match. But of course, if you re-anodize the housings, you're going to lose these Curry marks on here from Curry Enterprises because they were part of this project. So anytime you re-anodize these housings, you're going to lose that Curry logo. You might, I think it's acid etch, so you might see a little bit through there, but it's not going to be as bold as it is new. So taking the presentation tray off, what do we find inside here? We've got the body, which is, since it's not legal, since it's not a licensed body, we'll say it looks like an International Scout, an early version, which would be their first generation. And this has got a lot of memories for me because a friend from high school back in the day, he had a 64 International Scout that was a plow truck, and we had a school bus heater between the seats, and it was like the Pro and the Ultra. It was a half cab that was converted. So a school bus heater between the seats, man, the thing would cook you right out of there. That thing got so hot. But we'd take it out in the winter, and it had a snow plow on it. We'd go out in the frozen lakes and drive it around and do hooligan stuff with it. And what I like about Vanquish bodies, they're laser cut. They're very stout. They're very rigid if you're new to the product. There's no cutting or trimming for these, which is wonderful. Body post holes, everything is cut. Door handles, grill, or where the grill opening is. Which, focus. Anyways, you get the idea. Going deeper into the kit here. Bag H1. This is all the parts for the body, or most of the parts, which it would be, it looks like the radiator, the grill, steering wheel, mounting hardware, windshield wipers, headlight buckets, all that stuff. So that's bag H1. Underneath that, bouncing the camera, is bag I1. And so the original wheels for... Oh, I got the right ones. The original wheels were plastic versions of the Machete. And what they came with is their first tire, which was called the VXT. And I'm not sure how the VXT... I know it lasted as long as the Phoenix. And then I think they started to use licensed tires somewhere in there. So I don't remember if the Fordyce had Phoenix or if they started using the Yokohamas then. But in all honesty, this wasn't a great tire. But anyways, that's what I expect. This is more to tell you about what's in the kit and what should be there as far as what would make it original. Of course, most of you guys buying drivers aren't going to really care about the original wheels and tires. And some of this is more just information for what makes a complete kit. Let's see what else we got down here. G1, which is the horseshoe battery tray and electronics tray. You would mount your receiver onto this tray, your battery mounts across here, and what else is there? Velcro straps and some mounting hardware. Let's go on to this bag, which is C1. And this is, we've got the skid, which accommodates the axial 3 gear. You know, because this is before their VFD transmission. We've got the servo mounts. We've got the body posts, because of that full cab body, we need really tall body posts in the rear to accommodate the height of the full cab. Let's see. Bouncing the camera again. This would be the interior set for the body. And the difference between this and like the Pro and the Ultra is there's no holes drilled in the Origin body. So an Origin interior would not have any holes drilled in it. Plus, it wouldn't have the cutout for the body posts because you're mounting, the body posts are going just through here and you're putting your body pins in this area. Whereas the Pro, for the Pro and the Ultra, but on the Origin with the tall roof, the body posts are going through here and then through the roof. So that's another difference between the Pro and the Ultra as far as the body, the half cab. You have this large cutout area here in the floor here for the tall body posts. What else we got in here? So I guess this is correct too, is that they had these bags in here and they weren't sealed bags. They were left open like this and they placed a lot of the parts in there. So this is bag F1. This has all your tie rod links and your balls, studs, screws. Let's see, bag A1. This is your gears, your bearings, and all your hardware to assemble your axle housings. And B1 is also an axle housing assembly, or all the internals for the axle housing. Let's see if I can tell which one is front and which one's rear. It'll say in the directions for sure, but I thought I could see if any obvious differences. They also have the front drive, or have the drive shafts in there, half of them. So this is the shorter drive shaft. So A1 is for the front axle and B1 is for the rear axle because the rear axle sits back farther, so it uses the longer drive shaft. And then also in this bag is spare parts, which is your T-wrench, and it looks a couple of extra ball and sockets, body clips. So that's one bag. Let's see, the other bag, D2, which is the guard and the spur gear. G2, this is becoming one of the harder parts to find. There's some of the harder parts to find for people that are building these from parts truck is these Delrin skids. You can get them made from Send Cut Send. Unfortunately, Send Cut Send does not have them in 16th inch, which is what these original ones are. They only have 1/8 inch, which is twice as thick. It's barely noticeable, but at least you can have fresh ones instead of reusing some old ones that you got with the standoffs. And the standoffs are what go in between the sliders and the chassis or the frame rails. The standoffs are in bag F2. And those are the standoffs. Also, what's in F2 is all the tie rod, or all the 4 links and the steering linkage with no rod ends. Okay. Going deeper here. This is B2, so this is the second bag for the rear axle housing. This has got the solid axle shafts, which means they don't have, they're not designed to steer. You got the end caps, you got the hexes, you got the spool. And A2 has the CVDs, so you got steering drive shafts in there, your hexes, your spool, your carrier for your spool in the housing. So that's subs. to the next one. This is transmission parts. We've got our slipper eliminator, bearing kit, the other half of our drive shafts, which is the ends that mount to the transmission, the ones that were in the bags for the axle parts with the axle side of it. Got our output shafts for our transmission. There's our gear set for the transmission. Like I said, this is based off of axial 3 gear. This is our shock kit. So note that it's got the dark gray color on the incision shocks. These are the longer ones, the 90 millimeter ones. They make 80 millimeter ones. They look nearly identical, except they're 10 millimeters shorter, and the anodizing is clear on the 80 millimeter ones, but Origin comes with 90 millimeter, and they have gray anodizing. So that's your quick way to determine between a 90 and an 80, provided nobody swap parts around. But that's another giveaway too. If they've got the shorter shocks in there, they'll have the silver or the clear anodizing versus the gray. And these are assembled. They do come with some spare parts to change valving, to change links, that kind of stuff. Here is another part that's unique to Origin, and that is the inner fenders. So let's see if we get these in frame. Let's move that out of the way so we get a black background. Zoom in a little. So, note the 2 holes here on this one. This is for a Pro and an Ultra. For whatever reason, they decided to change the design when they went to Pro and Ultra for how these mounted. These, with the 2 holes right side by side, these are Origin inner fenders. And all 4 of them are mounted this way. And likewise with the Pro and the Ultra, all 4 of them are mounted this way. So if you're looking to buy one and you see those inner fenders, they've been swapped, or they never had the original ones. These are getting extremely hard to find because, they're polycarbonate. They don't stand up well to any abuse. Really, the only way these things usually survive is on a shelf queen or new and packaged somewhere, a set that was never assembled. So to make you a complete Origin, these are getting really tough to find. I stumble onto them once in a while. Usually they're on a rig that's already, one that's been driven and stuff, used, whatever you want to call it. There's the tires. So here's another parts package that's getting harder to find. So I believe they had complaints about the frame rails or the rigidity of the frames and how they, if you planted the front end up against an obstacle or whatever, people were tweaking the whole chassis and causing it to bend. So they came out with this parts kit, a brace set. Let's see, I got an open set here. That looks like so. So this is a rear brace that goes behind the transmission between the frame rails. This front brace goes between the frame rails and the shock tower up front, and it's designed to replace the servo mount. So where it gets its extra rigidity is the original servo mount is only this portion here. And so what they did was they added this to bridge it together to tie up the front end a little better, to get it firmer, so it would be less likely to bend or give or whatever. Like I said, And these parts were not included in the kit with the clear one. They were offered to the customers who bought them, and you had to contact Vanquish, and I believe they would mail them to you. I mean, some kits may have got them in the store that didn't sell right away. I'm not sure how quickly these parts came out. But yeah, these are parts that are becoming very, very hard to find also, because not everybody got them, not everybody put them in, or another common thing is they get hacked up for clearance, for modifications. I've seen them with holes drilled through them to accommodate a winch and have the winch lead come through them. So yeah, and I've seen them notched on the bottom for clearance. And I've even seen this rear one, chunks of it cut out, and I think it was to make clearance for a dig unit. Because when you put a dig unit on the back of a 3-gear, it's right up against it in this area. So I think the one I saw that was cut out, the truck wasn't assembled, it was a batch of parts. I believe it was to make room for the dig unit and not remove this. What I have seen a lot of rigs that were driven with the dig unit is they never put this piece in. So yeah, and these are CNC alloy, aluminum, like the rest of the parts, and the original ones, the original servo mount is black plastic, which is in one of those parts bags. This is a brand new part. This was not in the kit at all in a plastic form or whatever. This was something they designed afterwards to address the complaints. So this is one of mine, and this is one that is a parts truck. I'll be straight up honest with you. So it is fairly accurate, meaning like 90%, maybe a little more. But as you can see, it's got the bumpers, it's got the sliders, it's got the Delrin, it's got the aluminum standoffs. These are the D44 axles, which that's the only way they came. Also, the hexes on Origins always match the color of the anodizing. Later on, parts kits for the axles and so forth, they almost all have black hexes. I haven't seen them any other color. So that's usually kind of a giveaway sometimes when you see black hexes on clear axles. We also got the Incision 90mm shocks, which has the dark gray anodizing, front and rear. What it doesn't have is it doesn't have the correct inner fenders. So there's one of those two holes that are farther apart. On the Origin, the two holes are to one side right next to each other. So there'd be one here and one here. But instead there's two that are far apart. So these are the later wheel wells, which came on the Pro and the Ultra. And what else do we have and this is also the later chassis frame rails. It does have the extra hole right here, which we're probably not going to see on camera too well. So, there's that cross brace that I said sometimes I've seen them where they're cut out because your dig unit would go right in here. And so when it starts hanging off the end here, usually like the servo bracket, if you're using a full-size servo, is right up against this. There was people that designed used a different servo mount, a carbon fiber one, to use smaller servos, because it's not necessary to have a full-size servo to run a dig unit. But anyways, so yeah, the ones I've seen cut apart is usually because there's the dig unit for the 3-gear in here. Here's that horseshoe battery tray with the Vanquish straps. Like I said, this is your axial-based 3-gear transmission, Vanquish's version. They didn't have their own electronics box or receiver box. All the photos I've seen, usually they look like axial receiver boxes, which I do have a bunch of those, and I'm going to put one in here. So that's one thing it didn't come with. So basically any receiver box is fine because it wasn't part of it. Right in here, this is where that front brace goes. Like I said, this is also the servo mount. Where it's different from the original is, here's an original one. Here's an original servo mount. As you can see, it doesn't come off the end here like it does on this one to go in between the front bumper. So that bridged it all together to make it more solid so it wouldn't give, or like if you're hitting something with this, it's not going to push on the frame rails. But yeah, so this is the one that came with it. And this also comes in, what kit is it? It's the skid kit. Where if you get an axial 3-gear skid kit from Vanquish, this is included with it. And I think it might be included in another kit that's for the VRD. I'm not for certain on that. But anyways, yeah, so here's the taller body mounts for the full cab body. Like I said, you know, I'm not doing this to be snobbish. My biggest thing here is, as these are, like I said earlier, as these are going up in value, it's nice to know what parts it should and shouldn't have if somebody's gonna, because what I see is some guys trying to get the same high price as somebody else, but theirs isn't complete. So my only point is, like I said, if you're paying top dollar for one of these, you know, you should be getting a complete one with all the parts. Because like these braces go for crazy money now. You know, they're getting as much as $300 for the pair of braces. So if somebody's going to charge you, say, $1,800 for, say, a really nice Origin that looks, you know, new, undriven or whatever, and it doesn't have those braces, well, you shouldn't be paying that top dollar price for it if you don't have all the pieces. So like I said, this is just to help you guys also with pricing these things and how to look for parts that doesn't have, and realize that, I mean, these are still obtainable. I mean, you can find these floating around once in a while, but like inner fenders, the inner fenders are really hard to find. I mean, not that that's a big deal. You know, that's up to you how big a deal that is. But I really think if you're going to pay full price for one of these, you should get all the original Origin parts. Because even these standoffs, these are getting crazy hard to find too. These are those little aluminum pieces they attach the sliders to the frame rails. They're getting hard to find. Like I said, that piece of Delrin that goes on the bottom, you can go to Send Cut Send and get them made very, very inexpensively. But like I said, they're twice the thickness, unfortunately. So they're not quite identical. What else? Yeah, so at the time of taping this, really nice built ones are going for neighborhood of, you know, $1,500 to $2,000. Like I said, and the original price was $899. Now, and new in boxes are starting to get up around $3,000 if they're sealed, meaning never been opened. You know, meaning that foil seal that's on the outside of the box hasn't been cut through yet. So it's, you know, this is, and you know, other part of this is we got people going in new to the brand, and then they're starting to fall in love with the whole brand, and they want a piece of the history of it, and they want to get one of these. And, you know, maybe they are content with a parts truck. Maybe they just want, you know, something that looks like it. But then parts truck shouldn't be the same price as an original if it's, you know, in equal condition. So yeah, so like I said, just to help you guys get a little more informed of what you're buying. Another thing, all the hardware on the original, I shouldn't say all of it, most of the hardware is black. Even the hardware where the on the axles where the link rods tie in. I believe that the diff covers are still stainless, but all the other hardware is black. You know, black oxide finish. And so as you can see on this one, I've got stainless hardware on the axles, because that's what these axles come with now, is stainless hardware. And like I said, this isn't a 100% accurate one anyways, so you know, the black oxide ones, that hardware can rust just sitting in place, unfortunately. So, and there's the clear panhard mount. Like I said, you'll see the black ones on the parts kit ones because they come with black ones. So what'd you think of all that? Get back to me, comment on what you think of the video if you want to see more stuff like this. I have other brands of stuff that's vintage in the box that we can tear open and take a look at it. Got some Tamiya stuff, got some Kyosho stuff, got some Team Associate, a little bit of everything, but Vanquish is what I've been covering lately, mostly because of activity within the company and what they're producing right now. And it is one of my favorite things that I'm involved with right now. So, yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff that helps us out, helps the new channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you hung around this long to the end, God bless you for making it this far. This is a long video, but hopefully it was informative enough and interesting enough for you guys to hang in to the end. I'll post some pictures here at the end of some of the Origin builds that we've done here at the Origin Factory. And have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. God bless.